to the Woolly Ramblings podcast. My name is Nicole, and I am one of the shepherds at Covered Bridge Farm here in Western Oregon. This is a knitting and spinning focused podcast, which I have lots of knitting to share with you today. A little bit of spinning, not much. So welcome to episode 3. It has been a very, very long time since I have sat down and filmed a podcast. And part of that has been because we've had a lot of life changes happening, some natural disasters, which has led to my 5 to 6 month absence here on YouTube. So I'm trying to get on a roll again and get back in the groove of podcasting. So quickly, I'm going to give a update where I've been segment here at the beginning. I will put a timestamp on the screen if you are not interested in that and want to skip straight ahead to all of the knitting and spinning content. So last time I filmed, I believe, was in January, I think, and I had planned for my next episode to be at the beginning of February, and at that time my job schedule changed, so I had less free time, and that definitely hindered me from being able to sit down and do a podcast. But then around Valentine's Day, Western Oregon was hit by a very severe ice storm, and this caused a lot of damage. There was power outages. Our farm is located, or part of our farm is located in a little oak grove of old growth oak grove, and a lot of these trees were severely damaged by the weight of the ice. We ended up with over an inch of ice accumulation, and so this damaged a lot of these trees, and we had lost many trees, and including one that actually clipped the side of our house. And it wasn't a super severe damage, but our house was a very old manufactured home from the 1970s, and so when it came time to see what repairs were going to be, the cost of repairs just didn't make sense to move forward and have those fixed. So the home farm is owned by my mom, and so she made the decision that to remove the manufactured home and build a new home. And so that's where we've been. Our life has been packed up in boxes, and the house, we actually had a Burn to Learn, which is a program done by many fire departments that allow firefighters to have a training experience on a controlled burn, but be able to experience realistic situations that they could be in. So they set fire to our home, and they burned it, which I know a lot of people find that incredibly alarming that we voluntarily did that. But it was also, as far as cost of removing the home, it was probably one of the best options, if not the best option for us. So we have been busy with that. The burn was in June, so in that time period we were packing and moving all our stuff. My husband and I and our son are living at my mother-in-law's, and so hence the different background. I hope you don't mind the very blank white walls. This is going to be my corner, I think, for podcasting for at least a little bit while. So my husband and I are currently in the process of looking to purchase our own home, which has been a very frustrating experience. The current housing market here in Oregon is incredibly competitive. Prices are incredibly steep, and it has been really hard for us to find something in our budget that is not a shack, to be completely honest. So that's where I've been, and just from that I felt really creatively drained. I was still knitting, but my knitting mojo kind of went in waves, but I'm finally feeling ready to get back to doing these more creative projects. So because of my long absence, I do have a lot of knitting. I've got a couple finished projects, I've got some whips, and I also have some acquisitions today. My husband and I recently went to a fiber festival in Eastern Oregon, and I'm going to share about that a little bit with you today. So yeah, I guess we'll jump into knitting now. So to start, I have finished, or quite a long time ago, have finished my son's stave sweater, which is what I have been talking about a whole bunch in previous episodes. So this is the stave sweater by Carol Feller. It's a child's colorwork sweater. I knit the 2T size, and I knit this out of our farm's yarn. So this is our Covered Bridge Farm Romney DK yarn. I like to call it the Shades of Romney because it features, the collection features many shades that Romney fiber can come in, which I don't think a lot of people realize, that other breeds have so many options of colors as far as shades. So I've been talking about this sweater a lot. I'm a little disappointed because I just don't feel like I did the best job finishing up this sweater. At least the finishing. I don't know why, but my ends that I wove in are just, they're coming undone, and I'm a little bit bummed about that. So on the sleeves, I actually, because on all the sleeves, the neckline, and I found a couple other spots while I was prepping for this video, that the ends were kind of popping out. So on the sleeves, because I had already woven the ends and trimmed them, I actually needle felted the strands that were kind of coming out in, and I think it's okay. I want this to be something durable that my son can wear this winter. Last time I put it on him, it was a bit long in the sleeves, but I don't know, by now he might be fitting in it, but we've had such a hot summer that I've had absolutely no reason to put him in anything like this. And we haven't gone camping this year either. So let's see, things that I really didn't do any modifications to this sweater. I think the only thing that I really did that wasn't explicitly said to do in the pattern was that for my bind off edges, at least on the neckline bind off edge, because these were, you cast on the sleeves. No, I'm really confused. Anyways, I bound off using the Icelandic bind off because I didn't feel like a traditional bind off in the white really showed the white. It seemed too thin compared to the cast on edge of the bottom of the sweater. That's what I was trying to say. So for the sleeves and the neckline, I used the Icelandic bind off, which flipped the colors outwards so that you could see it more prominently. I also made an error here on the shoulders, I believe. It's got kind of almost this puff sleeve going on, and that's because there was a part in the pattern that was asking you to pick up stitches when you pick up at the sleeve opening, and I just misread it wrong. Partly I just didn't understand what it wanted me to do or how it wanted me to do that, so I just kind of did it myself, and hence I have a little bit of a puff sleeve going on, which I don't love, but I think it's okay. It's fine. I really loved this sweater overall. It was really easy once I got over all my color combination hiccups that I was having problems with in previous episodes. The colors I use, for anyone who wants to know, the main dark color is from our U Eclipse. She is pretty much a black U, which is quite impressive. The trim on the white and the white that's used in the color work is our Celeste Kitty yarn. the light gray here on top is from Coco, which I know is really ironic that her name is Coco. The middle gray and the last color is from Rex. So those are the colors, 4 colors I used. There is a 5th color, which was one of the colors I was debating using in previous episodes, and that's Aurora. So yeah, this is the sweater, and while I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not my bind off and weaving end of ends is not holding up as well as I'd like, I really like this sweater. So I think it's super cute, and a lot of people have admired it at the fiber festivals. Next, I have 2 more finished projects, and these are smaller projects. And my first, I believe, is this. And they are finished, but they're not quite finished. I have not had a chance to weave in the ends, partly because I don't know where any darning needles are. So I think I'm going to have to order some more. So these are one of the socks, and this is just a very basic vanilla sock. I unfortunately don't have my sock blockers. Again, things are packed up in boxes, so you'll have to bear with me. This one has been on the blockers, which I think is why it looks just so nice by itself. So this is a 3x1 ribbed cuff. The ribbing extends across the foot of the sock. And then the heel on this one, I did kind of follow a pattern. I don't remember what the name of it. I'll include it in the description box below. And they had you just do a stockinette heel, and I really didn't like that, but I just followed along anyways. So you'll see on the next finished object, I kind of changed things up. It's also a sock. So yeah, this yarn is a superwash yarn. I don't remember what the content is. I will include it on the screen. It is from Bumblebee Farms, and this is their Outlander inspired sock or yarn that is inspired by Jamie. And I really love these colors. When I was working with it, I realized that it was pretty much the colors of the rainbow, but in a more moody kind of color palette, which I really like. I'm not into really bright colors most of the time, so this is a little bit more in my style, I guess. It is kind of almost has a striping effect going on, but it kind of still pools and spots. You can kind of see on the cuff, which I don't mind. It's okay. It's a sock. You know, I'm mostly going to wear these around the house, and who's going to be looking at my socks that closely? So that's these 2. My next finished object is another pair of socks. Kind of, you probably figured that out already. And these are pretty much the same thing, except I did a different heel on this guy. And I'm trying to remember what I did. I think it was the slip heel, so it's just slightly more reinforced. And I like how it kind of transitions from the ribbing a little bit better. I'm sorry, I'm like really not explaining things well today because it's been so long since I've worked on these projects that I really don't remember what I did. So I will look through notes and put notations here on the screen so that maybe if you're interested in knowing more, things make more sense. So exact same thing, 3x1 ribbing across the foot, and whatever I did on the heel here. I think that this is a little bit more standard. I'd never done just a straight stockinette heel before on a sock, and that was a little weird to me. This is the colorway, I believe, is called Bittersweet Vine, and I think it's the Chasing Rabbits Fiber Co. from Texas. So really like this color. I got this a really long time ago. I guess I got it in 2018 in McKinney, Texas, when I was visiting some family at the yarn store there, and I tried to make this into socks so many times, and I just finally stopped and made a bunch of socks and finished them. So now I just gotta weave in the ends on these guys. So that is my finished objects. Sorry if I'm fidgeting, I'm sitting on the floor and my feet are falling asleep. So next I guess we will move on to works in progress. So I have 2 works in progress, which is really rare for me. I'm sure I've mentioned it before on this podcast, but I'm kind of a monogamous knitter typically. So I have 2 projects. And so I know I've talked about in other episodes that I have a project that I really need to get back to, but I didn't do that. I cast on something new. And I'm not going to be able to fit this guy in the screen, I don't think. I might have to back up here. I am knitting a sweater for my husband. Let's see if I back up if you can see it more. So you can see it's quite large. I'm almost done. I just have a little bit left on this sleeve to do, and then I need to do the finishing neckline, which is just a ribbed neckline. And this pattern is the, I'm looking at my phone to just try to say it correctly. This is the Vintergröna. I believe that's how you say it. I don't speak Swedish. This is a Swedish pattern. I'm going to put the designer's name up on the screen because I'm not even going to try. I don't want to butcher somebody's name that bad. Anyways, I can't remember how I ran across this sweater, but I found several, and this is a compilation in a magazine over there. Let me see if I can... I'll put it on the screen. That they have over in Sweden. And so there's another men's sweater that I absolutely love that I also want to knit for my husband that is in one of the other editions. They also have some pretty women's sweaters as well. But I've never really found men's sweaters that I found really attractive. So part of the detail on this sweater, if I could turn it around, is that it has this saddle style shoulder going on here. How well you can see it with the lighting. But so you knit this part first, and then you pick up your stitches so it wraps over the shoulders here. Get this yarn out of the way. Wraps over, you can kind of see it there. It wraps over here, and then you pick up for the body, you pick up your stitches along these pieces and along the back, and then you knit down for the body. And I found it such a really enjoyable knit. I know not everybody loves miles and miles of stockinette, but I've really enjoyed it. I haven't minded it as much as I thought I would. So I just felt like this sweater, when I saw on the models and on other knitters or men who had received it from other knitters. I believe there was both men who were knitting this for themselves as well as women knitting it for their partners. It just really flattered the shoulders, and my husband has very broad shoulders, and so I just thought this would just look really attractive on him. And I love this sweater so much, knitting it. I would love to knit another one, and I haven't even finished it yet. This sweater or the yarn I'm using is again some more of our farm yarn, and this is kind of an interesting story, and I should have brought the other skein up, but I didn't. I wanted to knit this for him. So my husband has been asking for almost 2-3 years now for a sweater, and I had promised him that for our wedding it would be a wedding gift. I would do the whole 10 yards. I would take a raw fleece and go all the way to a finished sweater for him. And well, with our COVID wedding that we ended up having, things didn't happen like that. I threw together a wedding in 3 months, and that's definitely not enough time to process a whole fleece and turn it into a sweater. So he hasn't gotten that, unfortunately. So then he started saying he wanted a nice going out sweater and a work sweater. So this is the work sweater. This yarn is our Covered Bridge Farm yarn. It is a very old yarn. This is one of the first yarn we had ever done back in like 2010. And it is a blend of Horn Dorset and Pull Dorset and nylon. So it should hold up pretty well. It does have a little bit of pilling already just from me putting it in my bag. I'm not worried about it. It's not a big deal to me because, again, this is the sweater that I want him to feel like he can beat up on and not feel bad about it. The color, so the story on the color, so that yarn, we did a bunch of dyeing and we tried to follow trendy colors, and a lot of the colors were not, I mean, some people liked them. I can't say people didn't like them, but this yarn was originally a bright like carrot orange, and that wasn't something I wanted to knit with. It wasn't something I saw that suited him. So, plus I didn't quite have enough. I had another color. So I over dyed the skeins to be all that original orange, excluding the ones that were already orange. I had 2 skeins that I think were kind of the sandy color that I over dyed with the orange. And then I took Cushing's Mahogany and over dyed all of the orange yarn to get this kind of rust. And well, I tried to shove too many skeins into the pot, and so some skeins struck really hard and turned out a really dark, color, and some of the skeins didn't and turned out this light color. So I've been alternating between 3 balls of yarn for this whole sweater, and it's created this striping. I don't love the striping. I would have loved this more if it had been a complete solid, but that's okay. Again, this is the beat up sweater. This is the work sweater. So unfortunately he knows that this is his sweater. I had kind of wanted to do this whole sneaky thing for Christmas, but where I put this sweater and I thought I was going to finish his other sweater, which in no way I am given the current situation, and put them in a box and then be like, your sweaters, because he's been joking with me that he's never going to get a sweater, and the sweater, he won't get it until he's gonna die because he's ridiculous like that. So I wanted to prove him wrong. So I'm almost done. He's gonna have to wait for Christmas because I'm giving it to him for Christmas. But I started running out of yarn and playing yarn chicken. But luckily in my packing, I found another one of those orange skeins, and so I need to over dye that one, and I think that one skein will be enough to finish this sleeve and do the neck detail. So I will say, so the pattern originally was written in Swedish and has been translated to English, so I'm not trying to translate this from Swedish, but the starting, if you are interested in doing this pattern, the starting for this whole shoulder shaping that you've got going on here is not translated very well. It's a little bit sketchy as far as some of the details that just don't make sense. So I have taken really detailed notes on my Ravelry, which is really rare for me. So I'm Woolly Ramblings on there, but you can go check that out for the really specific details on this. I've also heavily modified the sleeves because I started knitting the sleeves as the pattern directed you to, and it just was huge. It was like, no way, it was massive. So I took, I've done my increases more, or my decreases more drastically here, and it looks a lot better, or well, it looks a lot better, and it kind of, I matched it up to a pullover my husband already has that's from the store, and so I think it's going to be a good fit. So I hopefully will have this finished by the next episode. So this is really cool. Why is it that all the finished sweaters, my first finished adult sweater, is not going to be for me? So anyways, this one's on pause for a little bit. So I do have one more whip, and I don't have much to show for it. If I had filmed last night or yesterday, I would have had more to show, but I decided to rip back because I just decided I wasn't going to have enough yarn doing it the way I was going to do it. So I have finally picked back up, and this is an absolute mess, my Nurture sweater by Andrea Mowry. And I originally had like 5 inches of body here, so I'm on the body. If you've seen other previous episodes, I have already knitted the sleeves as directed in the pattern, and so now I'm finally getting around to the body. And just a little recap, it's been forever, I'll just go over it again. I am using my Handspun yarn. This is also from Eclipse, which is the same sheep as this dark color in my son's sweater. And I spun this yarn specifically for this sweater. And a lot has changed in my life since I spun this yarn. I've had a baby, and so I originally spun for a very different size. So I'm still kind of knitting maybe a too small size for me, but it's gonna be okay. It is what it is. And we're gonna see what happens. So originally, earlier when I started to pick this up, I thought, you know, maybe I'm gonna have enough handspun that I can do it. I can make it work. It's not that big of a sweater. So I was working on it, and I had about 5 inches, and then I realized, no, there's no way I'm gonna make it, because one of my issues I have as someone who has their own yarn made is that, and roving and all the fibery fun stuff, is that I tend to have a really hard time keeping enough for me if I want to do a project. I always undershoot it, and then I end up short. So that's a very personal problem and challenge that I have when it comes to my projects when I'm working with my own stuff. So in this case, I didn't keep enough roving, so this is all I have. I don't have any more of this roving. The roving's gone. It's been sold. But we have some, I had some mill spun worsted from our farm that is really similar. It's dark. It's also black. It's super close. Here in the sliding, I can tell there's a little bit of difference, and I think you can too, but I think it's close enough that it'll be fine. So I'm going to supplement with this worsted, even though my handspun is a little bit heavier than the worsted. I did spin my handspun a little bit too heavy for what this pattern recommended, so some of my fabric is kind of heavier and stiffer. One of my sleeves is particularly that way, but it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna knit the sweater. It might not fit me right now, but I'm gonna get it done. I spun for this, and this is what it's gonna be. So I ripped back last night. I'm gonna pick it up again today and see if we can supplement it and make it stretched using this mill spun from our farm. So this yarn, I don't think I have any more in the shop, but this was a worsted from another one of our ewes, Zora. So, and for anyone who's interested about my bag, I kind of flashed it across the screen. This project bag is a Nanette Wake project bag. She spins and weaves and creates this beautiful fabric on the outside, and then it is lined on the inside with this really pretty oak leaf, or yeah, they're oak leaf. It's got a little pocket. It has some other details that I kind of modified because it's not my thing. It had a big flower on it originally, and I'm not into, wasn't my thing, so I did remove that. I have it saved because I think I'll put it on like a headband or something for a little girl someday, if I have a little girl, and if not, I'll find a little girl to give it to. And then it also has on the zipper, typically it has some little bling, which it doesn't right now because it kept falling off, so it's kind of stashed away. I need to reattach it. So yeah, definitely check out her. She also has indie dyed yarn that she does. Her husband turns bowls for doing like supported spindling, and as well as like yarn bowls. So definitely check out her shop. So on to spinning. I don't have a lot to show you for spinning. I do have one finished, well, bundle of yarn to show you. I haven't done a lot of spinning since the whole transition of packing up and essentially storing everything away. Part of the problem also is, while I have quite a bit of spinning fibers in my stash to work on, either some of those need to be prepped, for example fleeces, and I don't have projects necessarily picked out for these other stash items. So I'm kind of at a wall, I guess, trying to decide what project or which fiber I want to move on to next. So we'll see. I just have a little bit to show you. So when I last showed you spinning, I had finished this skein and was working on this skein. It was still on the bobbin at the time. So this is for my woodlark shawl, which is a pattern by Fiber Tales. It is a colorwork shawl that is worked in the round, and then you steek it to essentially get it to the flat shawl form. I think this is a really unique construction of a shawl, and I'm really interested to try it. I've never done steeking before, so that'll be a whole new project for me. So Lerka of Fiber Tales originally designed this using the Urso Mouton base yarn, which is a yarn that's out of Canada, and it was a Pull Dorset nylon blend yarn. It was a single ply, which I thought was really interesting. So I took some of our farm's Horn Dorset roving and spun it for single ply, and I'm going to do my own shawl that way. So I've talked about the natural colored Dorset before. I'm not really going to go into it again right now. I'll probably talk a lot more about it as I start that shawl. So originally I was going to do these two colors. It's a 2-color shawl, but when I calculated out the yardage for this one, which was supposed to be the main body color, or the main color that you use, I didn't have enough yardage. I was short, maybe like 200 yards. So I've decided to make it a 3-color shawl. So we have a dark Moorit, a light beige Moorit, and the white. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do the layout as far as the color pattern. I've seen a lot of beautiful shawls that have been done in 4 or 5 colors, so I'm not sure how I'm going to lay out mine with 3. So I have finished this one. This is our one of our white Horn Dorset rovings. I currently don't have any more white roving Horn Dorset in stock. It's really popular. So I didn't enjoy this one maybe quite as much. As far as spinning, I was really having a lot of problems, which might have been partly my wheel, but I was having a lot of issues getting enough twist, which you can, I don't know if you can see that a lot of them are just really fluffy strands. So I'm hoping it'll hold up all right once I knit it up. And then I did this one. So again, I've never spun for a single ply yarn before, and that has kind of thrown me off. So again, these are for my woodlark shawl, and this will be an up-and-coming project on the podcast. I don't know what I'm going to spin next, like I said. So I do have some new stash acquisitions that I could be spinning, which I will show you here in a second. But I also have a lot more of the Shave 'em to Save 'em breeds in my stash that I need to work on. So that's it for knitting and spinning content. Like I just said, I do have some acquisitions, my gosh. And I'm going to show those here in a second, but I want to talk about where I got those acquisitions. So my husband and I and my son, we all went to the Prairie City Fiber Festival at the end of July. It's a small fiber festival, quite small actually, in Prairie City, Oregon, hence the name. which is located in Eastern Oregon in Grant County. And again, very small fiber festival, only about 30 vendors. They also had some classes, and it was a kind of like the same schedule as Oregon Flock and Fiber, where you have 2 days that the vendors are open, and then on Friday leading up to the festival, there are also classes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is only their 3rd year, so they're a fairly new fiber festival, and they're a little bit different from a lot of fiber festivals. In fact, they're the only fiber festival that I know that operates this way. It's a fundraiser. So all proceeds that are not needed for the running of the event go back to the 4-H and FFA youth of Grant County, which is really cool. So I wanted to show you the poster. So this is, oh dear, it's gonna be flipped. This is the poster for next year, and this sheep here, I'll show you her and what she usually looks like. The sheep that is their mascot, they call her Unique. That's her name, and she's got this really beautiful flower fleece. So I think it's a really fun logo and definitely represents the area. And so this was my first time vending. It was a very different experience because one of the things that was really unique is that the organizers of the event, they actually went above and beyond to make their vendors feel welcome, and everyone for that matter. But we got a little goodie bag, and I do want to show you a couple things out of that, just because it's kind of cool and special that they did this. I don't think any other fiber festival, especially the large ones, can do this. So first, they gave us, all vendors, one of these tote bags, and it has Unique on it. You got different colors, and then of course the floral Unique down here. It says Prairie City Fiber Festival, and these bags were available for purchase at their info booth, so that was super cool. So a new little project bag. This was really handy because I used this to and from our Airbnb for bringing in stuff, just what I needed for the day while I was vending. Then another really cool little goodie was their Unique enamel pin. I don't know if you can see her because it's focusing on me. And so they had us wear these on our lanyards. So super cute. She'll be going on a project bag. There we go. So super cool. And then finally they gave each vendor a special vendor gift and top it off of the bag and the little pin. So this was made by a local gal in Prairie City. Let's see. This was made by Anna's Beautiful Needleworks, and it's a little Christmas ornament. So I just wanted to show this off because it was really cool. Not a lot of fiber festivals do this, and there is a little sheep on the top. Super cute and really, really special and unique. All the vendors also got coupons to various businesses around Grant County, so if you were staying a little bit longer, you could definitely have used those for different touristy type outings if you want to do that. So before I get into my purchases, which is really small, I only got a couple things, I'm going to roll some B-clip here of Prairie City Fiber Festival. So I will see you after that. hope you enjoyed that little short clip of Prairie City Fiber Festival and some of the vendors that were there. Like I said, they had about 30 vendors, they had classes, they had a spinning circle on Saturday, they did raffles. No fiber or fleece show at this point, but they are working on expanding and growing, so this is a really cool little event if you are in that Eastern Oregon region. Definitely check it out next year. Like the flyer said, it will be held July 30th and 31st next year. And so yeah, there were a lot of different vendors. There were vendors that I never would have had the opportunity to see, or not very likely. I know some of them do come to Black Sheep and some come to Off, but there were vendors from Eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Nevada. So that was really special. I will say the vendors were a little bit different than what I was used to for a normal fiber festival, as there were a lot more vendors who had finished projects. So that was really interesting. They were all either hand knits, hand woven items. There was a gorgeous painter who was there, which you may have seen in the clips. So that was a little bit different. So when I went shopping, I like to buy fiber that is, especially when I'm on a trip like this, I like to buy fiber that is a representation of maybe the region I'm in, or from someone that I'm not normally going to get to see again. So it took me a while, and I did end up purchasing 2 items from a gal who was actually in our building. So both of these items are from Wandering Pines Ranch, and they're out of Idaho. And so the first thing I got was this beautiful braid. Here, I'll pull it up. So it's these kind of autumnal colors, which, again, the purple is a little bit out there for me, but it really fits in with this whole color palette right here. So this, while the label doesn't say, it just calls it generally the Northwest Wool Blend. This is, from what she told me, is a Rambouillet Targhee blend, which is a pretty, both braids are pretty popular in the western United States, in the Rocky Mountain regions, as they do well in the more arid climates. Since they are fine wools, they are fine wool braids. We don't see a lot of those out here in western Oregon. So that was pretty cool. This colorway is called Fall Leaves. So again, really pretty. This, oh, I love that. Like this part, and then the purple just really fits in. Then I also got this little Batt, and it's a little sparkly Batt. It's only about 2 ounces, but it's super soft, and I don't normally go for pink, but something about it, I was just drawn to it, and that's why I had to get it. So this is the colorway Painted Clouds, and it is a 80% Corridale blend and a 20% Merino and silk blend. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to take this and either ply it or blend it with some of our white Romney. So we will see. So these are both things that I could be working on. So this is what I got. Not a lot, but it's something. And I really don't need to be adding a whole lot to my stash right now. So yeah. So I think that wraps it up for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be trying to be more vigilant about posting regularly. I'm gonna try for every 2 weeks, but no promises. Let's see, if you want to follow me in the times that I'm not posting, I am on Instagram as Covered Bridge Farm. I don't post a lot on Ravelry, but I do have my Ravelry project pages, which, like I said, for my one sweater I'm working on, I am taking very detailed notes, or fairly detailed notes on there. So I'm Woolly Ramblings on there. You can also find me on Facebook as Covered Bridge Fern. So with that said, I hope you all have a lovely week, or 2 weeks, since I'm going to be doing every 2 weeks, hopefully. And I will see you next time.